هكذا وصل خاطب المؤمنين إلى الاستديو. وعليكم السلام.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Yes.
وواصل حضرته حديثه بالبارحة وشكر الإخوة الشبان الذين يساهموا في تصوير هذه الحلقات من برامج لقاء مع العرب، وعرف بهم واحدا واحدا وشكرهم على مجهوداتهم هذه التي ستخلد عبر التاريخ، وقال لهم أن مساعيكم هذه لن تذوب عبر التاريخ، بل بالعكس ستبقى خالدة. وثم واصل حضرته وقال أنه يبدو أن الإخوة العرب يشاهدون الشاشة الصغيرة لساعات طويلة، ويبدو أنهم ينامون لمدة وجيزة خلال القيلولة، وهكذا سمح لهم أن يشاهدوا محطتنا إذ كنا نبث من نفس القمر الصناعي الذي كان فيه كثير من المحطات العربية. وثم قال حضرته أن كثير من هؤلاء الإخوة العرب الذين قابلوا حضرته في فرنسا في جولته الأخيرة هذه قد لاموا، قد أبرزوا نوع من اللوم، وهو أنهم الآن ليس بإمكانهم التقاط الفضائية الإسلامية الأحمدية، وكما تعرفون نحن كنا قد غيرنا منذ شهور القمر الصناعي الذي نبث منه. فهكذا فسر لهم حضرته كل المشاكل وكيف بإمكانهم أن يتحصلوا مرة أخرى ويلتقطوا هذه البرامج، وذلك سيكون على مدار الساعة. ثم قال حضرته أن مجلس السؤال والجواب هذا قد دام ل4 ساعات، والأسئلة التي كانت ألقيت من الإخوة العرب خصوصا كانت أسئلة قيمة وأسئلة لها وزنها. وفي الأخير هؤلاء الإخوة قد طلبوا وقد أصروا أنهم ينضموا إلى الجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية. ويقول حضرته أن هنالك تلك الوجوه الغريبة التي رآها في أول يوم، في اليوم الثاني تغيرت هذه الملامح، فأصبحت مشاعر هذه الغرابة هذه امتلأت وجوههم بالحب والامتنان. وخصوصا ذكر حضرته إمامين تعرف على الجماعة من قرب، وأحدهما قد قابل حاتم المؤمنين، وهذا الإمام كان سنه ما يقارب في الأربعينيات، ولما دخل في لقائه الانفرادي مع حاتم المؤمنين في مكتبه هناك في باريس بمركز الجماعة بفرنسا قد بكى كثيرا. وهكذا هذا يوري كيف أن احترامه ومعرفته للقرآن الكريم الآن قد تعرف عليه أكثر من منظور الفكر الأحمدي، وذلك الجو الذي كان فيه ذلك الإمام يعبر فعلا عن إخلاصه وامتنانه بما سمعه وبما شاهده من معارف القرآن الكريم من خلال تفاسير الجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية. ثم يقول حاتم المؤمنين أن هذان الإمامان يعرفان أنهما سيخسران الكثير، سمعتهما وكل هذه التسهيلات التي كانت لهما في مجتمعهما هم سيخسران الكثير، ولكن مع ذلك هم قرروا أن ينضموا للجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية، وهم يعرفون ما سيحصل لهم في آخر الأمر، ومع ذلك قرروا الانضمام علنا. ثم يقول حضرتهم أن هذه الأسئلة التي ألقت لحضرته من الإخوة العرب الحاضرين خصوصا في ذلك المجلس كانت أسئلة دقيقة جدا تتعلق بتفاسير القرآن الكريم. ويقول حضرته هذه النقطة يبدو أن العرب لهم اهتمام بالغ بتفاسير القرآن الكريم، ولما نعرض عليهم المنظور أو الفكر الإسلامي الأحمدي حول القرآن الكريم هذه الأمور تعجبهم كثيرا وتجلبهم بسرعة إلى الفكر الإسلامي الأحمدي، إذ أنها مبنية على المنطق وعلى العقل أكثر مما هو خرافات وأمور تائهة. ويقول حاتم المؤمنين أنه رأى شخصيا تغير في ملامح هؤلاء الإخوة العرب الذين حضروا في هذا المجلس، خصوصا بعد أن ألقى وقدم لهم حضرته تفاسير القرآن الكريم وأجاب على أسئلتهم. ويقول حضرته يبدو أن تفسير الجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية بخصوص القرآن الكريم يؤثر كثيرا في الإخوة العرب، خصوصا ربما يظن البعض منهم أن حضرته ليس عربي وربما ليس له اطلاع أو غير متمكن من معارف اللغة العربية، لكن لما يفسر لهم حضرته هذه الأمور بلسانهم وذلك عن طريق مترجم يستغرب هؤلاء الناس ويوقنوا أن هذه المعارف لا تأتي من شخص يتلقاها من جامعات ولكن تأتي من الله سبحانه وتعالى. ويقول حضرته يبدو أنه بعد أن أعطاهم هذه التفاسير القرآنية الجميلة القيمة هذا أحدث فيهم تغيير جذري في أفكارهم وفي نظرتهم للجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية. ويقول حضرته هكذا بعد هذه الحلقة من الأسئلة والأجوبة التي دامت أكثر من 4 ساعات في الحقيقة، يقول حضرته أنه نام هنيئا بعد أن اطمأن على هذا التطور الروحي الذي وقع في هذه الرحلة المباركة، وشكر بالخصوص الأخ جهانجير خان الذي قام مشكورا بهذه الترجمة لمدة 4 ساعات، وحصل لي الشرف شخصيا كي أترجم بعض الأسئلة التي سألها بعض الأخوة العرب هنالك إلى اللغة الإنجليزية.
والله بعدها as well.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
In the end, yes.
Yes, I did.
So, please, your turn now, at last.
Yes, we have questions from our viewers. From our viewers in Spain, and
Yes.
there's a question from our sister in Spain. She's asking that she's saying هذا سؤال يوجه من شاب مغربي يدرس هنا بإسبانيا. هل كان الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يستعمل غنيمة ومتاع غير المسلمين حيث يأخذها منهم لكي يستعملها جيش المسلمين للأكل والشرب والحرب وغير ذلك، وفي أي حالة يحصل هذا؟ Did the Holy Prophet ﷺ use the spoil of war which they've got from the non-Muslims and used it for the military purposes as a food and drinks for the Muslim army?
Yes, there is no doubt about it. It is. In fact, this was not only a question of spoils of war, it was a daily routine practice that the Arabi used to bring food, many a time cooked food, sometimes raw, preserved food, to sell to Medina and to Mecca as well. This is a custom. Rural areas always bring their vegetables and agricultural produce to the cities. And sometimes it happened that meat was there, which was not, of course, the swine's meat, but meat which belonged to either camel or sheep or goat, etc. And some Sahaba perhaps hesitated to eat that because they were not sure whether this was slaughtered by a Muslim having said Bismillah Allahu Akbar or not. Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam repelled these doubts and said, say Bismillah Allahu Akbar, and there is no need to, unnecessarily have doubts and suspicions. This is not the purpose. Purpose is, if something is definitely slaughtered on the altar of some idol, and you know that, then of course it is haram. But when you buy meat from market, how can you inquire every time what sort of meat that is and so on and so forth? So for daily requirements of life, these economic relationships were not forbidden. And we have positive evidence that Rasulullah did not hesitate to taste of such meat after saying Bismillah Allahu Akbar. Right? So when meat is all right, the rest is all right. But obviously this meat was not dead meat, of course, because the people around knew the Muslims' customs and they wanted to sell their meat. How could they get anything dead and slaughter it? So it is in good faith as well. When you go into trade or commerce or business, mostly they are run on good faith. So even in cities like Karachi, we know that dead meat was served for a long time by some butchers who had sold it to kebab shops and this and that, who, whenever an animal died, they slaughtered it afterwards. And so these accidents happen. So if you go on becoming suspicious and everything, your life will become so difficult. So Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam admonished Muslims that deen is easy and comfortable. Don't make it difficult. But it does not mean that you should take licenses. You should shut your eyes do haram things when you know they are haram. Right? Please.
أجاب حضرة أمير المؤمنين على هذا السؤال وقال نعم بإمكان المسلمين أن يأكلوا هذه اللحوم أو هذه الأغنام التي يتحصلوا عليها، إذ هذه الأغنام ليست متعلقة بالحرب فقط، ولكن هذه كانت عادة معروفة بين العرب في ذلك الوقت. وكما تعرفون في الأسواق الأسبوعية منذ القديم يحضر الأهالي المأكولات المطهية ويحضرون أيضا الخضروات وأمور أخرى تعرفونها. فيقول حاتم المؤمنين أن بعض الأحيان بعض صحابة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يهتموا ولم يميلوا لبعض اللحوم التي كانت موجودة في هذه الأسواق الأسبوعية وغيرها، لأنهم أوجسوا في أنفسهم خيفة ربما كانت هذه لم تذبح على الطريقة الإسلامية. فهكذا الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم نصحهم أن يقولوا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ويتوكلوا الله، وبإمكانهم أن يستهلكوا تلك اللحوم. ويقول حضرة من المؤمنين
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الله أكبر. صححني حاتم المؤمنين وقال أنا قلت بسم الله الله أكبر لا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، وبإمكانهم أن يستهلكوا تلك اللحوم. ثم قال حضرته أننا في هذه الأيام مثلا ما إذا نشتري هذه اللحوم من الأسواق أي ضمان لنا أنها ذبحت طبقا للشريعة الإسلامية. ففي متطلبات الحاجات اليومية لا يجوز أن نضخم هذه القضايا، إذ النية تلعب دورا هاما في هذا المجال. ثم ضرب حضرته مثال يتعلق بهذا الموضوع وقال مثلا في كراتشي في باكستان منذ بضع سنوات هنالك بعض الجزارين قد باعوا لحوم لحيوانات ماتت في حوادث أو في أمور أخرى، وبيعت هذه لمحلات الكباب ومحلات ومطاعم أخرى مختلفة، وهكذا استهلكت يمكن لأسابيع أو لشهور ولم يعلم بها وإلا القليل، أو فضحت وخرجت هذه الفضائح بعد مدة وجيزة. ثم ذكر حضرته الحديث المشهور للرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم أننا لا يجب أن نضخم هذه الأمور، بل بالعكس لابد أن نيسر هذه الأمور ولا نعسرها كي تصبح مشكلات ومعضلات كثيرة. وهكذا وجه حضرته أنذرنا أن نأخذ هذه الأمور بسهولة، وإلا سيصعب علينا العيش في مجتمعنا الإسلامي حتى.
ما معنى هذه from the same sister in Spain ما معنى هذه الآية الكريمة تدقيقا من سورة النور الآية 57؟ أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ليستأذنكم الذين ملكت أيمانكم والذين لم يبلغوا الحلم منكم 3 مرات من قبل صلاة الفجر وحين تضعون ثيابكم من الظهيرة ومن بعد صلاة العشاء. هل هذا نوع خاص من الحجاب ويجب على النساء أن يطبقنه في منازلهن؟
No, first translate it and then inshallah. I know that, but first translate it for the sake of. You read the translation? From there? No.
Yes. This is verse number 59 from.
You got your microphone on?
It's verse number 59 from Surah An-Nur, and the English translation is like this: O ye who believe, let those whom your right hands possess and those of you who have not reached puberty ask leave of you at 3 times before coming into your private apartments, before the morning prayer, and when you lay aside your clothes at noon in summer, and after the night prayer. These are the 3 times of privacy for you. At other times there is no blame on you nor on them, for some of you have to attend upon others and to move about freely according to need. Thus does Allah make plain to you the signs, for Allah is all-knowing, wise.
Now this verse relates not to the subject of parda, normal parda at all. Those who live in the house and from whom there is no hijab, no parda as we call it in Urdu, no veil, they move around in the house, and it is perhaps it was a custom in Arabia not to have doors with locks on. So maybe they do curtains, and anybody could enter any place, any room by lifting the curtain. in many countries, even now with doors and things and locks available, they don't have locks at all on the doors. Like in America, it's so embarrassing sometimes. Even in toilets, you can't lock. In some places, this is the custom. So, if there is no parda, even if it's your son, your daughter, or other close relatives, if they go on walking into your rooms without knocking, without saying Assalamu alaikum, then it's a bad habit, and which may turn into very embarrassing situations. So the Holy Quran has gone to such detail that these are the times you should not surprise anybody in the house. Be careful. Take prior permission and give time to people to dress up properly or whatever it is, and then enter. So this is the meaning, of course. It doesn't mean that every Tom and Dick and Harry can walk in at other times than these. Right?
أجاب حضرة أمير المؤمنين على سؤال هذه الأخت من أسبانيا، وقال أن هذه الآية لا تتعلق بالحجاب الإسلامي فقط مثل ما يسمونه في شبه الجزيرة الهندية البردة، وقال حضرته هذا لا يتعلق كما ذكرنا بالحجاب فقط، ولكن ربما كانت هنالك عادة في الجزيرة العربية أنهم لا يضعون هذه الأبواب التي فيها الأقفال في أوجه منازلهم، وهكذا يبدو أنهم يضعون حجابا فقط. وهكذا يقول حضرته هذه العادة لا زالت إلى يومنا هذا موجودة في بعض الدول، وضرب لذلك مثلا قال مثلا في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية كثير من الناس لا يضعون هذا القفل في باب الحمام، وهذا يحدث بعض الانطباعات غير السليمة على الزائرين. ويقول حضرته ما يكون تصورك إذا ابنك أو بنتك دخلت لغرفة النوم عليك بدون أن تدق الباب أو تطلب الإذن لذلك، فربما في بعض الأحيان ستفاجأ بمنظر غير سليم، وهكذا هذا لن يكون سليما لها أو لتفكيرها. فيقول حضرة ابن المؤمنين انظروا كيف القرآن الكريم لم ينسى ولم يفرط حتى هذه النقاط الصغيرة جدا، بل بالعكس قد وضع عليها بعض الأضواء، وذلك الفائدة العميقة ترجع في الأخير على الإنسان وعلى أموره الأخلاقية. وهكذا يقول حضرة ابن المؤمنين أن القرآن الكريم علمنا هذا الدرس العظيم، وهو أن نأخذ الإذن حتى قبل أن ندخل غرفة نوم والدنا.
Another question from someone else from Morocco. الآية الكريمة وإن من أهل الكتاب إلا
ليؤمنن به قبل موته.
هنا استعمل فعل آمن بصيغة المضارع الذي يفيد الحاضر والمستقبل، ونحن نعلم أن القرآن الكريم أنزل بعد وفاة سيدنا عيسى عليه الصلاة والسلام، فلماذا إذن صيغة المضارع؟
This is a verse on which I have spoken in detail before, but this is an important subject, so I would take it up. This is situated immediately after Bal Rafahu Allahu ilayhi, right? Now, if he was not murdered, if he was not crucified, then what happened to him? This is the question. Now, according to my explanation which I gave in France, in Liqa Ma there, I explained it in full detail that this verse does not permit the bodily lifting of Jesus Christ by God, because specifically the words used here are Bal Rafahu Allahu ilayhi. Now, where is Jesus? Where was God at the time? Was he not there where Jesus was? Is not Allah nuru samawati wal ard? Isn't it right that ana wa tawallu fa thamma wajhullah? So, if this is true that God is everywhere, nothing is empty of God, no space, and God was there where Jesus was. So, ilahi cannot be translated as a physical movement, because when something moves from one direction to another to meet something, it positively indicates that that something was not there from where a thing moved. If I call you towards me because I'm not there. But if you're sitting together like a mother holding her child, she doesn't say, come here, come with me, come to me. He's already there. So the Holy Quran is a fantastic book. It uses so, the choice of words is so perfect that unless someone is twisted within, he can't twist the meanings. So that is why this verse does not permit a translation which would require the body of Jesus Christ to move from one place to another because there God is. Now, these ulama who generally raise this issue, I'll come to that verse later on after explaining this. They don't know that the earth is round, and they have not heard as yet that it's moving around, and they don't realize that sky as we think is up. Tomorrow exactly at this time, after half a day, 12 hours from here, the sky will be exactly opposite. Our heads will be in the opposite direction to which they are today. And after 6 hours, they will be horizontal in a position, which was quarter position. Like if you look at the hands of the watch, you see the minute hands, when 12 hours strikes, the minute hand after 15 minutes will be in this direction. This is the 12 hour. Then after 30 minutes, it will go down. Then after 15 minutes more, it will be in this direction. Then return. So they don't know that the concept of heaven they have is not the one which the Holy Quran has. According to the Holy Quran, heaven is everywhere. So physical heaven I am talking about. Spiritual heaven is movement of the spirit in the direction of Allah. Spirit can move in the direction of spirit. Body cannot move in the direction of spirit because they don't belong to the same entity, the same different things altogether. And if the one spirit is all pervasive, is present everywhere, then how can you move from one direction to another to meet that spirit? The moment you leave, it will be understood, it will be implied that that spirit was there and not here. That's one thing. But now it's the second thing I'm talking about. Earth is revolving. If they say God is in that direction, the Sama, where would be God tomorrow after 12 hours? In that direction, in which direction our feet are. And where would be God about 6 hours from now? He would be in that direction. If the earth is moving this way, but it's moving this way, then he would be in this direction. After 45 minutes, he would be in that direction. So, where did Jesus go? In which direction? So, if you try to translate spiritual meanings literally, you will lose sense and you will lose yourself bearing a direction like Jesus must have lost. When he was called by God, come here, I'm going to lift you. Where would he go? God was there. If he moves, it means God is not there. If he moves upwards, then God is downwards as well. If he moves this way, then God is on the other side as well. So it is an insult to God to translate verses relating to God as if he is a physical being. He is not a physical being. Why didn't Allah say Rafa'ullah ila samai? Sama may be all around, but some concept of leaving the earth will follow in any direction. But when Allah says to me, then it's impossible to conceive a movement of Jesus' body in any direction. So when this happens and the Holy Quran says that they did not kill him, they failed to murder him, they failed to crucify him, where did he go? It is this verse which tells us immediately afterwards where he went. Because it is the people of his time which apparently saw Jesus crucified. It was the people of his time for whom the question arose as to where Jesus might have gone after this if he didn't die. And they didn't recover his body from anywhere. This is the most important point. So they must have been wondering, as the Holy Quran says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ. What was the ikhtilaf about? If it were the image of somebody else which was crucified, there was no ikhtilaf. They saw the image, both the Christians and the Jews thought it was Jesus Christ, and there is no question of any shak, any ikhtilaf, any zan, any shubha. So the Holy Quran is using these words to indicate that what happened there created some doubt, some suspicion of some sort. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ. They are in doubt about what really actually happened to Jesus. مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ. They're just following conjectures. What is certain is only this, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. It begins with وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. So read these three words together, shubha, shak, zan, which means that they have no knowledge, something else happened. Okay, if something else happened and he was not killed, he was not successfully crucified in the sense that he didn't die upon cross, where did he go? Bal Rafa'ullah ilayh, we have already proved that God doesn't have a direction. So he couldn't have gone in any direction. This verse deals with that, where he went. And the problem in the understanding of this verse arises from the fact that they think that ahadun is mahzuf. In ahadun min ahlil kitabe, if you translate it as in ahadun, which means the word ahad is mahzuf. Something has to be considered as mahzuf. This is a simple case of Arabic grammar. When you say im min ahlil kitabe, im min what? It could be translated in ahadun min ahlil kitabe, illa la yuminanna bihi. Or if you say in fariqun min ahlil kitabe, illa la yuminanna bihi, that is also permissible as much as ahadun. So when you translate it as in fariqun min ahlil kitabe, illa la yuminanna bihi, then immediately this verse begins to reveal itself. Because there were 12 tribes of Israel. When Jesus Christ appeared before them, he had the advent. All scholars agreed. There is no shadow of doubt about it. No Muslim can deny this. That there were 12 tribes of Israel, out of which there were 2 only present at the time when Jesus appeared. And he was called Rasulan ila Bani Israel, not about 2 tribes of Israel. So he couldn't have fulfilled his ministry, he couldn't have fulfilled his purpose if instead of delivering the message to all the tribes, he had returned to God or anywhere else without finishing the business for which he was sent. The business was to deliver the message of God to all the tribes, because he was Rasulun ila Bani Israel, not only for 2 tribes. So this verse throws light on the subject. وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ, there is not a single tribe of the Ahl Kitab who would die without believing in Jesus Christ. Unless the message is delivered, how can they believe? So this means, when you say Amanu, it does not mean every member of that community. The main problem which has been created for ulama lies in the word immin. Routinely, traditionally, generation after generation, they're saying ahadun is mahzuf. It is not ahad which is mahzuf. Because the moment you consider ahad to be mahfuz, problems will arise which will be unmanageable. I'll give examples after this. So, as I understand this verse, I'll unfold the whole thing, and then you see how wonderful this is, how perfectly it fits. Immin ahlil kitabe illa layuminan nabi. He came to deliver his message to all the tribes of Israel. If you are wondering where he disappeared, if he didn't die, if he was not murdered, where he must have gone. The finger of the Quran points at the Israelites, wherever they have gone, he must have followed there. So, he will not die. The word death can refer both to him and to the tribes. During their lifetime, or during the lifetime of Jesus Christ, there will not be a single tribe of Israel which has not had faith in Jesus Christ. But not necessarily all. Because the Holy Quran speaks of the word kul not in the sense of every person, but if some of belonging to a people become Muslims, the message is delivered and the purpose is served. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent to the whole world. He was not Rasulun ila Bani Israel. So when he was sent, Ya ayyuhan nasu, Qul ya ayyuhan nasu inni Rasulullah alaykum jamia. One could say, Africa didn't believe, that didn't believe, that didn't believe. But if a major part, a representative part of different continents and different countries believes in Rasulullah sallam, it means as if kullun believe, all have believed. But they must represent different places and different nationalities. And at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is exactly what happened. People belonging to different nationalities did believe in him during his lifetime. And that is why he declared, according to the Quran, the Holy Quran declares, Amanu Rasulu bima unzila ilayhi min rabbi wal mu'minun. Kullun amana billah. The word kull is very significant. Everybody, all believed. Because if the cream of society believes, then the rest are considered to have believed. So that is why I insist that the missing word is not ahad. The missing word is fariq or tribe, however you express it. So if all the tribes of Israel were addressed by Jesus Christ, then he must have delivered his message to all of them. And because during his ministry in Palestine, people belonging to both the tribes who were there had believed in him. So the purpose was served. Now the remaining task had to be attended by him. So he couldn't have gone to heaven, leaving all the tribes wandering in wilderness without being given a chance to accept him. He connected with the verse, Rasulun ila Bani Israel. And the Bani Israel are mostly spread out in the world. And they even have not heard of him. and they must have been addressed by Jesus Christ himself. Now, another pointing finger in the Quran indicates where he went. If we find the tribes of Israel having gone there prior to that, then this verse and that verse, both together, fix the direction and fix also the place. The Holy Quran says, وَآوَيْنَاهُمَا إِلَىٰ رَبْوَةٍ ذَاتِ قَرَارٍ وَمَعِينٍ. This is another indicator which helps us understand this verse. The question of Awa only arose when Jesus' life was threatened, and also that of his mother and all his followers. So, Jesus Christ was promised. God told us in the Holy Quran clearly that when Jesus' life was threatened, we took him away to a place of safety. And we rescued him, Aban Umar, to a place of shelter and safety, which was a mountainous area, Rabbatin, Zate Qararim wa Ma'in. There was perfect peace and natural fountains and springs were in abundance. Otherwise, this Rabbatin, Zate Qararim wa Ma'in could not be described in these words if there was peace and there were fountains and springs everywhere. Now, this is exactly what Kashmir is. Why Kashmir? There are other places as well. But because the main exodus of the Israelites was in the direction of Kashmir. Through Afghanistan, they had gone to settle during their exodus from the mainland. They settled some in Iran, some in Afghanistan, some beyond into Kashmir, and filled the valley of Kashmir with their presence. So this is the verse which informs us that if you want to search where Jesus went after that, don't look up into the heaven. Search for where the tribes of Israel must have gone. Because without following them, he could not have finished his ministry. And no prophet returns to God without delivering the message. So he must have followed them, as the Holy Quran also indicates where to search for. And when we reach Kashmir, all the scholars now are agreed that they are the Israelite people who got settled in Kashmir, and their features, their style of life in the valley is very reminiscent of the Israelites of old time. Also the Pathans have been established now. Their own historians have said that we are old Israelites who had migrated during their exodus from after the invasion of Nebuchadnezzar. So this verse says, Jesus Christ went to, will not die until all the tribes had faith in him. He will finish his ministry and then he will return. Afterwards, after this, what is the remaining part of this verse? See, this is the meaning. وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا. What a perfect, accord this last bit has with the previous subject. Having delivered the message, he would rise as a shaheed. Prophet is called shaheed when he delivers the message and sees the reaction and reports to God. This is what happened to them and this is how they reacted. Now, about the Noon Sakhila. The Noon Sakhila applies to the future event. It does not carry the people from that age to a different age. This is again which is a mistake committed by other ulama. Coming to Noon Sakhila, I'll expose the falsity of this meaning which they attribute to this verse. But I think it's too much. First let him finish. Huh? Is all right? No, good. Now, when did the Holy Quran mean that this subject would begin? This is the question. The mullahs say that this indicates that Jesus Christ was lifted to heaven and he did not die. And he would only die when he returns and when all the tribes of Israel, each member, each child has faith in him. So they make two blunders. Number one, the word ahadun is inserted into between in and min, in Ahl Kitab. In min, Ahl Kitab. In and min. In ahadun they say. Okay. Which Ahl Kitab? They say because of Nun Sakhila, the Ahl Kitab are also of future, which is absolutely wrong according to the Arabic. The fail of Nun Sakhila is concerning the prophecy which is being mentioned. It does not mean and it cannot mean that the Ahl Kitab will be born later. Ahl Kitab are there, but their belief will be later. Immin Ahl Kitab la yu'minanna bihi. It doesn't say that they will be born later. So the Nun Sakhila applies only to Iman, not to the presence of Ahl Kitab. Ahl Kitab have to be there about whom this prophecy is made. You got the point? Clear? Abdurrahman, you understood? So, hanging on to Nun Sakhila, they shift the whole people of Israel to a future. And what purpose would it serve if the people of the time of Jesus Christ had seen him, as they admit, they had seen him, according to them, killed on cross, right? And if the Christians also agreed that he died upon the cross, then what would be the purpose of declaring it 600 years after to Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that this is not the case, he is still alive, and Ahl Kitab will not die until he returns and until they are given a chance entirely to believe in him. Each child, each human, each person. No? Now we are turning to their meaning, and I am criticizing them threadbare and so that everybody can decide whether their meaning is more sensible or my meaning which I have attributed to this verse. Now if their mullah's meaning is right, then what happened was, according to them, Jesus Christ was not crucified. Right? This whole verse leads into this verse. So we have to take up the whole subject together in the context. Jesus Christ did not die upon cross because he was never crucified. Not that he was redeemed from the cross. This is they don't accept this meaning. We say he was redeemed from the cross, so he was not crucified. So they say he was not crucified. The act of crucifixion did not take place on the body of Jesus. He never was crucified in the first place. At the same time, they agree 100% that a man looking exactly like Jesus Christ was hung upon the cross until they believe he died. And no one suspected that he was not Jesus. On this they are agreed. That is why they replace Jesus with another person and say that his shape, his features were completely transformed into the likeness of Jesus. So it was his likeness which was crucified and not Jesus. This is the well accepted and well established meaning of the ulama. Now we have to start from there to reach this verse. If this happened, then Jesus had gone according to them to the heaven. Bal rafa'ullah, according to them, is the physical act of lifting Jesus. So what does this verse do there afterwards? Immin ahlul kitab illa la yuminanna bihi. First of all, if the Ahlul Kitab are born later on, this expression does not permit it. It should have said, the Ahlul Kitab who will be born later, they will believe in him, not the Ahlul Kitab of the present. The context is of the time of Jesus Christ. So the Nun Sakila applies only to Iman, not to the persons of Ahlul Kitab. It doesn't at all mention that there are no Ahlul Kitab, they will be born later. So the whole thing is just fictitious and meaningless. But I'm following it according to them. They say when Jesus will descend from heaven, this verse means then all the Ahlul Kitab will believe in him, without exception. So the word Ahad requires us to believe that each one of them would believe in Jesus Christ. And because from the time of Rasul, up to the time of Rasulullah this had not happened. So the Nun Sakila is talking of something beyond Rasulullah. See? So they make Jesus Christ make a bypass of Rasulullah and land later in future to earth, and there all the Ahlul Kitab will believe in him. Right? Now, there are so many difficulties in accepting this, because if all the Ahlul Kitab believe in him 2,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 years after this act, what purpose will it serve to those who saw Jesus Christ hung upon cross and die a cursed death? How could this verse be of any use to Jesus Christ? How could God blame those Jews whom God himself had told in the Old Testament that if someone makes a false claim, he would hang by the tree, and this will be the proof of his cursed death. In the case as they build the story, until 600 years after Jesus, none of the Ahlul Kitab were informed that Jesus was not crucified. The first declaration is made to Rasulullah. So generation after generation died among the Jews not believing in him. Right? So what purpose will it serve if a future generation believes in him? And after what? After Rasulullah has appeared. And how could it be possible anyway for a people, all of them to believe, when he returns again, each person among the Ahl Kitab must believe in him if the Mullah's meaning is right. Each child which is born and dies, what of him? And what about those of the Ahl Kitab against whom, according to Hadith, Jesus Christ would raise his sword? Unless you believe in Islam, I am going to kill you. And who are destroyed by Jesus Christ because of their being kafir. So how this verse will apply to that situation? Many will be killed by Jesus Christ before they believe. And what about that verse? That till Yawm al-Qiyamah, the Holy Quran says, Fine?
وكنت عليهم شهيدا.
No. Was निकालने बताता हूँ उसको. I'll say. No, not that far. मैं निकाल देता हूँ. लिखिए आप सारे. No. وإذ قال الله يا عيسى إني متوفيك ورافعك إلي. Right? Tawafi is first and Rafa is after. So if he is lifted, his dead body is lifted. See? But then something else happens. وَمُطَاهِرُكَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَجَعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. Till the day of judgment, there will certainly be those who do not believe in Jesus Christ. See? If all of them believe before the day of judgment, then this verse is false. وَجَعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. So how before Yawm al-Qiyamah, all of them could believe in Jesus Christ? You got it? In no way can this verse be translated to apply to the future, giving the message that although the previous people of his time died under the impression that he was a false person, he was a false prophet, that is why he was crucified and died upon the cross. But little did they know that it was not Jesus Christ. It was a Jew whom we had converted into Jesus Christ. And they were celebrating his crucifixion and death upon cross. And God was laughing in the heavens. Stupid people, they don't know whom they have killed. The question is, what was their position in the sight of God? The people who died from among the Jews 600 years before Rasulullah, what should they have believed? Should they have believed in what they saw? Or should they have denied what they saw? According to the mullah's interpretation, they did see Jesus Christ die upon the cross. And they didn't know who it was. So all the generations which died from the time of Jesus Christ till Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu who died and appeared before God, when God would question them, why did you persecute Jesus Christ and his followers? Why did you reject him? He was a prophet of mine. They would say, naturally, "Oh Allah, you know that you had revealed it in the Old Testament. But the sure sign of somebody's falsehood is that if he claims to be from God and God has not sent him, if he dies upon tree, upon cross, then take it for granted that he is a false man." Didn't you say that? What would Allah say? Will Allah tell lie like a mullah? God will have to say, yes, of course I said it. So what is our fault? That your fault is that you didn't know that we had lifted him to this fourth heaven and sent someone else instead as Jesus Christ, looking like Jesus Christ, and he was crucified. Why didn't you tell us? He said, no, after 2000 years after this, we sent him back and they are a witness that we are right. What logic? Even the stupidest mullah should be able to see the immense nonsense of this position. Say, oh God, why didn't you tell us that it was a different person, then we would believe. He said, why should I have told you? I told a people of your generation 2,000 or 3,000 years after you had died and disappeared. So I have done my job, so I hold you responsible for this. Who on earth will believe in such a God? So when they twist the meaning of a verse, they twist the entire thing about it. No sensible man can accept their verdict, and there is only one verdict, that the mullahs are wrong. The only sensible thing to be interpreted, to be translated is the way I have done. Those who accept ahad, they also offer different interpretations. There's not the only one interpretation. Hazrat Masih has also, having accepted their view, all right, let it be ahadun. But the word Mu'tahi applies to whom and this and that. Hazrat Masih has argued, but I'm not taking that position. I'm presenting it in a different way altogether. Because the time is over, inshallah, tomorrow you will begin this translation, and I'll have a relief for about 20 minutes or so. Right. Assalamu alaikum.